Friends, there's been a major shift at the Temple Mount, and it may not be what you think it is. And people are starting to ask some questions. Is the third temple really getting closer? Is this part of end times prophecy? Is the return of Christ, the rapture, all of that happening? Is this development and these new developments that we're going to talk about right now part of that end times prophecy? I think you should stay tuned and listen all the way to the end. Comment, like, and share if these are important things to you. And if you're ready, let's get started. One of the most important, significant events that's happened more recently, you've probably seen, is that Jewish prayer books are reportedly allowed onto the Temple Mount. And now, while lately you've heard mostly about this elevator project that people are saying is ushering in the third temple, and they're because of its location directly across the street from the Temple Institute, and they're saying that this new elevator system is going to bring not just worshipers, but they're also going to use this to bring supplies and other things and create this third temple and all the artifacts and everything. What significantly happened was the fact that this Jewish prayer book, and people brought this onto the Temple Mount, because here's why. There's been a long standing between Muslims and Jews and Christians. The status quo, they called it. Jews and Christians are permitted to visit the Temple Mount, but are generally prohibited from praying there. And so now, more recently, they brought in a prayer sheet about a year ago, and now they have full-blown prayer books on the site. And why is that important? Because with this escalation, with all of this new things that are happening, there's tensions in the region. Now, not only that, but now you have a housing project on the West Bank, and there's a bidding that's going on. And this area on the West Bank, again, another contested area in the Middle East, is causing people to ask questions. And so you have all of these things adding up, and people are saying, hey, what's going on? Is this part of something greater? And how does this fit into context of what's going to take place at the end? And we're going to look at Daniel, the words of Jesus in Matthew, and we're going to look at Paul. Because as you get closer to the end, you're going to start to see more and more happenings. And these are the types of stories that the Bible, I believe, calls these beginnings of birth pangs. These little things, the subtle things that are happening, like I've shared recently about this one world currency, this one world indoctrination that you're already seeing take place. Smaller countries outside of the United States are experimenting with this one currency, this oneness, all over the place. And I've showed you some things recently about the significance of that. But again, why is this important? Because it's part of the steps in the process of bringing about the return of Jesus Christ. And so the international response to this prayer book, these incidents, this escalation is not good. And when you have that, there's going to be greater and greater tension, as always. And then, of course, with this elevator project, which I've mentioned as well, this has been around for a long time. It started in 2017, this elevator, this project of kindness to make the Western Wall more accessible. Because right now, anybody other than a Muslim can only really go and pray at the Western Wall, not any further. And so now with this escalation, this prayer book and all these other things, this elevator system is trying to help get people to this. And so again, I just see it as greater and greater tension in the area, as something that we need to be attentive to and aware of. And then with the geopolitical landscape, with what's happening in this the settlement, we need to be mindful. So what does Scripture say about that? And why is this all significant? And how does this all play into the rapture, the third temple, the end times? I believe there's three significant scriptures that I want to draw your attention to. Daniel 9:27, which is the prophecy that Jesus quotes in Matthew. He says that in the middle of the week there'll be this time of peace, that this Antichrist will confirm a covenant, and then in the middle of that, he will stop the sacrifice and grain offerings. Why is that important? Because there has to be a temple in order to have those things. So people are looking at events like this, and they're saying, hey, this is the usherance in of a third temple, potentially because of what's happening. Now, Matthew 24:15, and going, Jesus talks about, he says, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. Now, of course, we know that in AD 70, there was this event occurred this destruction of the temple in AD 70, but we also know that it's telescoping to a further event which is yet to take place, because in 2 Thessalonians, Paul says that the man of lawlessness, that this apostasy must come first, and this man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. Now, if you study scripture, you study history, you know that there was a lot of things that happened in AD 70, but we also know that contextually this is going to be the furtherance of what's coming in the second coming, in the return of Christ. So is this third temple getting closer? Is the return of Christ getting closer? We have to look at scripture. We have to look at current events and say God is at work always. And what is our response as believers? Always prayerful. Always sharing the gospel with people who in our family, in our close circle, our friends or neighbors who don't know him. Begin to ask questions. Hey, as you see these things on the news, this is part of a greater story that God has put in place because of his great love for you, to redeem you from your sin, to give you a hope and a presence forever with him. And these are things that we as God-fearing, Christ-following need to be sharing with our friends and neighbors who don't know him. And so, friends, I hope you'll go back and look at these events. Be mindful, be watchful, be sharing with others what's going on. As always, like, share, comment. It's important we get this word out to other people. As we see these subtle things happening, we need to be mindful of them, and we need to be talking about them, because the news media and everything else is not going to be sharing with us these important truths. And it is up to us as Christians to begin to notice these things and to share these things, so that we can be watchful and mindful as we see the times changing, and not be caught off guard, and not be those who are led astray. So until then, God bless you, and we'll see you on the next one.